Hey, artists of Oli, let's talk about noses. The thing is, a nose is kind of a weird thing to draw. It sort of has a shape, but it sort of doesn't. You can't draw lines and make a nose. Look at these. None of these people have a line. This one's got a little bit of a shadow. There's no line on this face. There's no lines on that face. There's no line showing you where the edge of the nose is. It's all light and shadow. And that's important because as we're discovering, in drawing, everything is about light and shadow if you want to make things look three-dimensional. We've got a 6-pack of these that we created on Monday. Yours are arranged in rows, but it's the same idea where you've made different shaped noses, found the bottom curve, and put some side curves for nostrils on. Today we're going to show you how to develop those into something that's more of an actual drawing that's got some 3D depth to it. Something like this. Now look again. Are there lines? No. In fact, this person has almost no bridge to their nose. It's very flat in the middle. This person's got a real pronounced bridge to their nose, and you can see there's kind of a big flat area, but again, there are no lines on the side. It's just the brightness of the part that's closest to you shows up against the shadows of the part that are sloped away or further away, and that's why this nose looks three-dimensional. This is what we're trying to get past. At the very beginning of, anytime a person draws without any practice or background or understanding of what they're doing, this is what you're going to do. You're going to see symbols for a nose with big round pig nostrils in them and lines between the eyes and the nose, because that's how you show where it is. It's a diagram of a nose, but it's not a nose. Again, on a young person especially, there's barely even a bridge. And on everybody else, the bridge is only something that looks like a, quote, straight line because of the shadows next to it. In fact, think about it. The nose is basically sort of a cone or cylinder-shaped piece in the middle and a couple of basically almost like spheres or eggs on the side. A nose is just, and on the end, most of us have kind of a rounded part in the end too. This person's got a very pointy end on their nose. This person's is so flat it doesn't have a round part. This one's pretty wide, but you can see there's kind of a big ball at the end. And again, you just see that line of the nostrils kind of go and disappear against the nostril, don't you? That nostril line just kind of goes up and disappears. Here's somewhere I up the contrast a lot so you can see that bright area on the top of the nose is what we would draw lines for, but we don't have to. We can do it with shading. So you've got your six-pack drawings like this. They have the two strong lines, the one on the bottom and the two on the side, and then they've got the lines that we use to set them up. We're going to erase all those setup lines now, so we just have this. Now, a word about the pencil. When you're going to shade, use the side of the pencil, because if you use the point, it digs into the paper and it leaves you with dents that show up even when you erase, and it makes it hard to draw what you want to on top of them. So don't do that. Use the side. We're going to lay a nice even gray tone. Look how much bigger than the nose this is. A big area around it. Lay a nice tone of gray. The reason why is because we can add and subtract from gray, but if we have white, all we can do is add. Again, using the side of your pencil, think about when we did the shaded sphere. The round parts are going to be darkest on the parts that are away from the light, and typically the light's kind of coming from above or behind in our world, or above and in front, and we're going to pretend it is anyway here. So how would you shade that sphere? How would you shade this sphere? How would you shade that sphere? That's really what we're doing. It's the same thing as the shaded sphere. See on the other side now, a little more developed. But leave it bright here. The end of your nose isn't black on the bottom. Take a look at some of those other examples. Let's go back and look at a couple. Look at that. The bright spot comes all the way down to the end for most people. There's very little shadow underneath unless they have a really, really big nose. See, you don't see a lot of shadow down there. Then we just continue. Now, if you go back in, remember how we talked about how we made the nostrils a really strong darken and we faded outward? You can see how that's creating a nice 3D effect there. And here, something I want to point out too. There's no line drawn there. What the artist has done is they've taken and brought dark up against a light place. And when you have dark against light, you have that magic word, chiaroscuro. And chiaroscuro effects produce depth, 3D effect. Like it says right here on this slide, in fact. You don't have to draw a line to make depth and to define a shape. You can define a shape by just using shadow. Now up here, you might be tempted to draw some lines for the bridge of the nose. It looks like they're starting to draw a line there, but that's really just an indicator. Because what they're going to do is they're going to create shadows on both sides that show us where the high part is. The part that sticks out the most is the brightest too, and on these as well. So very gently do some shadowing and create a bridge shape up here. And you can do this differently on all 6. Make it wider on some, make it narrower on others, make it straight on some, make it taper on others. Try that. You've got 6 of them, so make them all a little different. I'm not sure why those are in there. I'm sorry. We've got a couple extra slides we don't need here. Just move on. Okay, so shade all 6 of them. Play around with using nothing but shade, no lines, to define the bridge of the nose. And label those nose job 12, 14, and 17. Then take the usual picture and turn it in with this document. And hey, Feliz Navidad y Prospero Año Nuevo, I would say in my Spanish classes. Have a great holiday break and be safe. Bye, everyone.